And Michael, police tell us that the suspect's crime spree all occurred within just a few block radius. They say at first he broke into a couple's apartment, but they apparently chased him off. He then came over this way, where police say that he broke into a woman's home and also began stabbing her. Fortunately for her, some good Samaritans came along.
I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life. I mean, it was just a very, very frightening experience.
Three friends were on their way to dinner in their white BMW when they spotted a woman badly bleeding on the ground on Crescent near Candor Lane in Lake Forest. They tell us they thought the man leaning over at the bleeding woman was trying to help her. But when they stopped to offer assistance, they realized the man was actually stabbing the woman on the ground with a big knife.
We stopped to help somebody, and the person was actually being stabbed at the time, and we didn't know that. We thought he was just helping someone out that maybe cracked their head on a sidewalk, and we got out, then he came after me with a knife.
Police say the suspect had broken into that bleeding woman's home about a block away, through her back glass doors, cutting his hand. They say he then grabbed a knife in her kitchen and went after her. She apparently ran from her home because she was trying to get him away from her two teenage daughters. He chased after her and began stabbing her. Fortunately for her, these three came along.
Then he went after my friend Mary with the knife, and I ran one way, she ran the other, and then he chased him around the car like multiple times, and then he hopped in my car and he took it.
Police say the suspect took off in their BMW, at times driving in the wrong direction on streets. He then apparently drove up onto a sidewalk, struck a pedestrian, and kept going before crashing into a car at Aspen and Muirlands.
When he collides with that vehicle, he then exits the car and he gets out and he runs across Muirlands Boulevard eastbound into a trailer park that's nearby. While in the trailer park, he attempts to break into a house there, but he's unsuccessful. Police
tell us he tried to carjack several cars before a passing bicyclist pepper sprayed him. Arriving deputies then took him into custody.
He was either crazy as the day is long or he was on something, because he just was smiling the whole time like he was having a good time.
And police tell us that the woman who was stabbed and the pedestrian that was struck by the car were both taken to the hospital for treatment, but are expected to be all right. For now, reporting live here in Lake Forest, Mary Beth McDade. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
That reign of terror was only 9 minutes long, but during that time, two women were critically injured. One of them was caught on a security camera trying to flee the armed suspect. Now, I want to warn you, this video you're about to see is difficult to watch. A nightmarish scene unfolding in this quiet suburban neighborhood. A home security camera captures a mother of two running for her life, screaming for help. The suspect, seen wearing a yellow shirt, is carrying a knife and eventually off-screen catches up to his victim and begins stabbing her while the screaming continues. That suspect identified as 25-year-old James Melendrez of Anaheim. During the incident, frantic neighbors run to call for help.
It's confirmed that she was stabbed 20 times, all about the head, face, and I believe the body.
Next door neighbor Greg Christensen has been in touch with the family of the woman and tells us she was inside her home with her two teenage daughters Tuesday around 5 p.m. when Melendrez broke inside.
He jumped the wall, broke in, attacked her right away. Her whole thought must have been, and of course I haven't talked to her, but must have been, you know, I got to get out of here so he doesn't touch my girls. Starts running, screaming, help, help.
The attack was part of a violent crime spree that began Tuesday at this Salvation Army store on Rockfield Boulevard. Authorities say Melendrez got into a fight there and ran away. He then tried to break into a nearby apartment unit, but the homeowner chased him away. And that's when minutes later, Melendrez ended up at the home of the stabbing victim on Danby Drive. These neighbors lived nearby and were driving to dinner in a white BMW when they saw the woman on the ground with the male suspect hovering over her, so they stopped to help.
The worst experience I've ever had, and
Me too.
so unexpected.
Little did they know the horror they would face.
And as I got closer, the person that was over the top of her got up, and he ended up coming at me with a knife.
And the first thing I saw was this big bloody knife in his hand, and I just yelled, "Kelly, he's got a knife." So she started backing off and took off running.
Then at that moment, Melendrez carjacked Kelly's white BMW convertible. A few blocks away, he struck a woman in her 50s who was walking on the sidewalk. and was finally caught when a cyclist passing the scene pepper sprayed him. Deputies soon arrived and arrested him. A frightening ordeal that lasted only 9 minutes, but left 2 women in critical condition and a path of destruction. As for these good Samaritans, would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because that lady would have died, and she's alive. Because if we wouldn't have stopped him, he would have kept stabbing her.
And we are told that both women are expected to survive. Meanwhile, the suspect has been booked into the Orange County Jail. He faces 2 counts of attempted murder and carjacking. His bail is set at $2 million. We're live in Lake Forest. Stephanie Stanton, Fox 11 News.
That suspect is now in sheriff's custody after that wild and violent crime spree in this neighborhood that left 2 women critically injured. And sheriff's officials say it started here at this Salvation Army store along Mercury Boulevard in Rockfield yesterday evening. Take a look at the video here. Deputies say after being involved in a fight here at the Salvation Army, the suspect ran off into a neighborhood, breaking into a stranger's apartment around 5 p.m. He was chased out, but he breaks into another house along Dublin Street. A woman inside there runs out to lure the suspect away from her 2 teenage daughters. She's stabbed several times when she trips and falls by the suspect before Good Samaritans in a white BMW pull over and try to help. Well, they get carjacked by the suspect, and he continues to terrorize this quiet neighborhood.
He eventually drove on the wrong side of the street where he was involved in a collision. From there, he actually is involved in another traffic collision where he leaves the vehicle and he flees into an adjacent trailer park. Once in the trailer park, he attempts to break into a trailer there. He's unsuccessful, so he flees that area. Another vehicle had stopped. He was actually able to open the door at that time, and he tried to pull the mother out of the car, and the vehicle was occupied by a mom and her daughter. He was unsuccessful in that, and at the same time, a bicycle was passing by, saw what was going on, and used some pepper spray. Pepper sprayed the subject about the same time the deputies were getting on scene, and the subject was taken into custody without further incident.
The Orange County Sheriff's Department did send out a tweet thanking several residents here in Lake Forest for assisting. In the end, you heard him there. It was a cyclist who used pepper spray on the suspect, which helped in his capture. The felony hit and run victim as well as the stabbing victim are in critical condition, but back out here live, according to the Sheriff's Department, they are expected to survive. Reporting live here in Lake Forest, Araxia and Tony will send it back to you in the studio.
Surveillance video shows a woman screaming for help as she runs from a man with a knife in Lake Forest. Orange County Sheriff's deputies say the man broke into the woman's home. She ran down the street hoping he would leave her kids alone. Deputies say he fell on top of her and stabbed her multiple times. Neighbors rushed to help.
About the amount of chaos this one person was able to cause in such a short amount of time. This started at a Salvation Army store near where we're at here in Lake Forest. Yesterday around 5 p.m. a guy got into some sort of physical confrontation, left there, went to a nearby apartment complex, broke into an apartment where a man and woman are. The man confronted him. He took off. Then he went into this neighborhood. This is Danby Drive here in Lake Forest. He ran into the back of the house, back of a yard, broke a window, broke into the house. Inside that house was a woman and 2 teenagers. According to the Sheriff's Department, the woman had the state of mind to lure the guy out of the house by getting him to chase her. He chased her here back onto Mullen Road, where we're at right here. Here on Mullen Road, he started stabbing her. At that moment, some folks in a white BMW, 3 people in a white BMW were driving down the street. They saw the 2 people in the street. They thought something was wrong with the woman on the ground. They thought the guy was trying to help her. They got out of the car and quickly figured out he was stabbing her instead.
We stopped to help somebody, and the person was actually being stabbed. And we got out, then he came after me with a knife. Then he went after my friend Mary with a knife, and then he hopped in my car and he took it.
And it wasn't over. As you heard there, he carjacked the white BMW. That white BMW then took off onto Lake Forest Boulevard and Muirlands Boulevard. There he started driving the wrong way and eventually hit a woman in her 50s. That woman was taken to the hospital in critical condition.
He was either crazy as the day is long or he was on something, because he just was smiling the whole time like he was having a good time. I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life. I mean, it was just a very, very frightening experience.
And the crime spree still wasn't over after that. After that, they said he went to a nearby mobile home park, tried to break into some residences there, tried to carjack some more people before sheriff's deputies eventually got him into custody. I said this was a short amount of time all this happened in. From the time sheriff's deputies say they got the first call on this to the time they had him in custody, they said that took 9 minutes. That's how quickly all of this happened. Now, as for the woman who lived on this or was inside this residence over here who got stabbed, and the woman who got hit, the pedestrian, we're told both were transported in critical condition, but both are expected to survive. We're still waiting for the identity of that man.